Hey, cool. How do we do that?
Hello, good people. Today we are going to make a, big air quotes on this one, portable Garmin POI database. What is the point of this? Well, a common complaint is that, oh, I got a new Garmin, or I got a different Garmin, or I bought a used Garmin, and I want to copy all my favorites from one to the next. Oh, I have to do this manually, or I gotta plug Garmin into the computer and use map source or Basecamp. That is annoying because it takes time. Well, if you do POI databases, as I will show you here, makes it a little easier. So let's get to it. The software we will be using is GPS Babel. Yes, you are seeing Linux right now because that's what I use, but GPS Babel is available for Windows 10 and 11, Mac OS, Linux, of course. And it looks the same on all of them. Nice. And I think I have it. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, that's what it looks like. Let us configure this first. Okay. Go to File Preferences and then Formats. Now, these are all listed in alphabetical order. The two we will be concentrating on is Garmin Points of Interest GPI and Universal CSV, that means comma separated value, with field structure in first line. Have those two checked. And then when you come back here, go to Input, select the format as Universal CSV with field structure in first line, and the output as Garmin Points of Interest. So you're going to make a CSV and you're going to output it to a GPI. And how do we make our CSV? With a text editor. In Windows, this would be Windows Notepad. In Mac, no idea. I don't use Macs. Whatever you use to edit text. As long as it's not a word processor, that is way overkill for this. You just need a simple text editor. Whatever the Mac equivalent of Windows Notepad is, use that. The format, because you will notice, this is the first line, and it says Universal CSV with field structure in first line. This is our structure. The way that I am showing it here is the easiest way to do, actually second easiest. I will list the absolute easiest after this. So we have LAT, LON, NAME, and DESC, which means, let me just make that bigger so you can see it, latitude, comma, longitude, comma, name, comma, description. And then what we have is lines that follow this structure. First value, latitude. Second value, longitude. Third value, name. And final value, I put address. Now this is a description. It does not have to be an address. It can be anything that you want. As a matter of fact, if I just copied this, the name twice, this is also acceptable. It also is. That's the second easiest way. The absolute easiest way is to not have a description field at all and have each entry like this, where you just have latitude, longitude, name. You can have it as that simple if you want to, but let's put back the way we had it. The reason I put the address here is just for convenience for me. So when I'm looking up entries in my POI database on my Garmin nuvi Drive DriveSmart, it actually will show the description with the address. Again, you don't need it. I do it for convenience. And that brings up a point I want to make. This does not instruct the Garmin device where to navigate you to. Everything concerning where it navigates you to has everything to do with latitude and longitude. Those must be absolutely correct. The rest of this is name and description. That's just for convenience. It's this right here that matters the most. So make sure your coordinates are correct. Then what we do is each line is an entry. I've got several entries here. And then you save it as a .csv file. Now I have mine named as 2024-01. You don't have to name it this. You can name it anything you want. But let's just say I named it Florida.csv. It could be that simple. It just has to end in .csv so GPS Babel will recognize it. So once you've done that, you've saved your file. That is when you go over to GPS Babel. And from here, it's very simple. You click on file name and you find where the file is, the CSV file is that you saved. You do not have to set any options. After that, under the output section here, this is where you put the output file name. So you click the button and you can plop it on the desktop. You can plop it in a different folder. It doesn't matter where you write it to, as long as you know where it is. So you click that, choose a folder if you want to, and then you name the file, instead of .csv, .gpi, Garmin Points of Interest, GPI. For options, the only one you really have to, there's two you have to concentrate on. Default category on output and create unique waypoint names. You don't have to do the after output job. You don't have to do the specified bitmap. You don't have to do anything else. Why is the category important? Now you will notice at the beginning of this video that when I loaded my POIs off the nuvi 40, that's what I was using, it showed categories. Well, how did it do that? I created several GPI files, and for each one I assigned it a specific category, and that's how you get category listings for POI lists on a Garmin nuvi, Drive DriveSmart, whatever. I just have the word custom here because I had to populate the field with something, but you could put something like gas stations, and you can use spaces. It's completely okay. You can totally do that. Make sure that for each GPI database that you create, if you create multiple databases, have the name be different from each one, and you're all set. And speaking on that point, okay, create unique waypoint names. You may be in the situation where you're going to create possibly many POI databases, and maybe you will have a waypoint or two, as in a favorite or two, that has the exact same name, even by mistake, as one of your other databases. Having this check will avoid problems if you do that. For example, let's just say you make a waypoint. Let me just bring this back up. You create one. I'm just going to make up some coordinates here. And you call it parking. You just do it like this. And let's just say you have another database and you make this exact same thing. In order for them not to argue, quotation fingers on that, with each other, that is why you check this box. That's all you need to know there. And then okay. Right. And then when you have your database selected, you've got your destination file selected, or populated, I should say, you click OK. And then you will have a GPI. It will be very small. It's just text, so of course it's very small. Well, what do you do then? How do we make it portable? I'm going to punch up the size so you can really see this. All right. Here is where the magic happens. Connect micro SD memory card to your computer. Not to the Garmin. You take your micro SD card, you put it in an SD adapter, whether that's on a USB stick or something like that. You connect it to your computer so you can write files to it. That's the first step. Second step, create a folder called Garmin on the micro SD memory card if it does not already exist. You may already have a micro SD memory card in your Garmin device. It may already contain a Garmin folder. If it does, leave it alone. If it does not, so for example, you have a new memory card and you're going to insert it into the Garmin. Put it into your computer first and create a folder called Garmin on the memory card. Again, if it exists, leave it alone. If it doesn't exist, create the folder. Next step, under the folder Garmin, create a folder called, create the folder POI on the microSD memory card. Now, what you've done up to this point is that you took your microSD memory card, you connected it to your computer, you created a folder called Garmin on the memory card. Then you create a subfolder called POI under Garmin on the memory card. I know this sounds complicated. It is not. This is dirt simple. So we'll use Windows as an example here. Okay, you connect a micro SD card to your Windows computer and it assigns it a drive letter E. Now this is Linux. I don't have drive letters here, but let's just pretend this is Windows for a moment because most people use Windows anyway. So E. Okay, under E, let's just say there was nothing. So you create a folder called Garmin. Now what you're doing is you're making a folder called POI. That's it. That's all you're doing. Okay, so we got that out of the way. You micro SD card in the computer, create a folder called Garmin if it doesn't already exist on the micro SD card, and then create a subdirectory called POI on the memory card. Right. Now, copy GPI file you created to Garmin POI on micro SD memory card. This right there, that is what makes this, big air quotes, portable. So you take your GPI or multiple GPIs and you copy that to the memory card, to the POI folder, which is under the Garmin folder, and then that's it. You safely disconnect the micro SD card from the computer, and then you insert it into the Garmin, and then you power on the Garmin, and exactly what I showed in the beginning of this video will occur. It will ask you, hey, I found new data. And what it's saying there is, I found POI databases. Do you want to copy this to internal memory? If you don't want to, just say no. And then load your POIs off the memory card. On an older Garmin, this is from Where To and Extras. And on newer Garmins, it is from Where To, Categories, Custom POI. That is the how you navigate the menus depending on what generation of Garmin device that you have. Well, why is this convenient? You may say, well, you know, it would be so much easier if I just connected my Garmin device to, say, Garmin Drive app or the Smart Link. I forget the name of they had two apps for it. Yeah, that's all well and good, but if you happen to have an older one that has no connectivity to an app on your phone whatsoever, this is the next best thing. It is. And the great thing about it is that this works all the way back to the nuvi 200. So if you have something like ancient, like a nuvi 200, nuvi 360, 1490, something like that, will this work? Yes. Yes, it will work. And it will work all the way up to the modern models. So will this work on a DriveSmart 66? Yes. Yes, it will. So you can have your, again, air quotes, portable POI database. And that's how you do it. Now, if you've watched this long, I got some important information. I do. Because there are some limitations to doing it this way. And I'm going to tell you what those are right now. Okay. First of all, only 50 locations will be shown at any given time. Okay. You can have, now you see entries here. You can have as many entries as you want in a POI database that you create. I think, if I remember correctly, I think the limit is something like 5,000, some crazy high number. Here's a problem with that, is that the way POI databases work on a Garmin device, doesn't matter what it is, could be old one, new one, doesn't matter, is it will only show the nearest 50 in a list. So if you load up your POI database and you're looking at the locations, only the nearest 50 are shown. Does that mean it won't recognize the others? No. You can still search your POI database. Absolutely. You can search it for any entry and it will find it. But as far as how many it will display in a list, that is limited to 50. That's just something to bear in mind, because I remember when I first started using POI databases, I made one that had something like 64, 63 entries, and I wasn't seeing them all. And I'm like, what's going on? And then after doing some searching around and reading some forums, okay, it's limited to a list of 50. Yes, I can still search the whole database and find things, what I'm looking for, but as far as, okay, the list, that it has a 50 location list. Second thing, POI databases are not editable on the Garmin device itself. With a favorite list, you can edit the name, you can, I think that's it actually. No, you can edit the name and you can edit what category it's assigned to if you have assigned it a category. And you can change the POI, the favorite icon. Is there anything else? Yeah, you can change the phone number. I think that's it. With POI database entries, no, non-editable. You cannot edit those on the device itself. You can select one, save it as a favorite, which is a separate list, and edit that if you want to do it that way. But the actual list itself, the database, non-editable. Can't do it. If you want to edit your list, you will have to do that on the computer and recreate your GPI. That is how that's done. You will either see this as, oh, that is a total deal breaker, I'm not doing it, or you see it as, okay, so I just have to make a list, but I just can't edit the list. But if I want to get rid of it, all I have to do is just delete it off the memory card. Right. Exactly. So there's pros and cons to it. You just have to figure out what works best for you in that situation. Not really a big deal. Back to the 50 thing. If you say, okay, well, all right, I want to see all my POIs. How do I do it? Just don't make any database with more than 50 entries. That's all you have to do. Just each one. You set your own limit. It's like, okay, if you have something like, say, 200 POIs, but you want to be able to see the entire list at any time, that means you will have to create 4 databases of 50 each, and you have to make sure that you have the category separate for each one. So you have custom 1, custom 2, custom 3, custom 4, however you want to name it. That is up to you on how to do that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could add to this. Oh yeah, there is one, a rather convenient thing, which is nice. Doing it this way means that you do not have to remove your Garmin device from the car, which is nice. What you can do, it may seem like a little bit of a production, and I guess it is a little bit what I'm about to describe. You can take a USB stick, you make your GPI, and then you take a USB stick and you copy it from the computer, and then you take the USB stick and plug it into your phone and copy it to the phone. Okay. Then you take the phone out to the car, and then you can take out the memory card of the Garmin, plug it into the phone, copy the GPI from the phone over to the Garmin, and that's it. You know, you just connect it up and put the card back in the Garmin, boot it up, and you go. Yes, that is a bit of a production. I understand that. However, this may prove to be useful for those that have older Garmin devices that have no connectivity to the Garmin Drive app at all. So if that is your situation, you're rocking an old model, but you want some way to get copy over favorites, you just need some way to do it without taking the Garmin out of the car. Well, don't take the Garmin out of the car, just take the memory card instead and do a little do-si-do with this, and then you can get your stuff, get your favorites copied over. And remember the limitations that I said earlier. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And the last thing I will say, and this is only for Garmin collectors. If you've got some, like I got over 30 of the stupid things. I think I got over 40 at this point. I lost count. If you got a whole bunch of Garmins, given this thing works all the way from 2007 all the way up to modern models, is that say, okay, well, I have my, let's just say, a standard list of my favorites that I like, but I want to be able to copy them in the easiest possible way to a whole bunch of different Garmins. How do I do it? Well, you do it this way, with a POI database. So instead of having to manually put in every single favorite, you do it this way. Okay, that's so much easier, because then all you have to do is copy it either to the memory card, or alternatively, just copy it directly to the Garmin device under Garmin POI folder. You can do that too. Yeah. This portable way, however, means that once you click out the memory card, it takes the POIs with it, which is convenient. This is especially true if you bounce between Garmins a lot. That's convenient more than a little bit. That's actually quite nice. Okay, did I cover it all? I think I covered everything. Yep, that's it. Have fun.